A tiny little box once came from the depths of a river, and hidden inside it was a wonder no one could see from the outside. It could heal the sick, feed the hungry, build a palace of gold, and change the life of a poor boy forever. But the little box did not come to him because he asked for treasure. It came because he chose kindness, even when kindness left him hungry. Long ago, in a small Bulgarian village, there lived a poor widow and her only son. Their cottage stood near the edge of the village. Small, quiet, and humble. The roof was old. The walls were worn. And in winter, the wind sometimes slipped through the cracks like a cold whisper. But inside that cottage, there was a gentle heart. The widow loved her son deeply, and the boy loved his mother more than anything in the world. They had very little. Some days there was bread. Some days only water and hope. Yet the mother often told him, "My son, a kind deed is never lost. Even if no one sees it. Even if no one thanks you. Kindness always finds its way home." The boy remembered this, not as a lesson from a book, but as something warm, hidden safely inside his heart. Then one season, his mother became ill. She grew pale and weak, and could no longer work. The boy was still young, but each morning, he went out into the village to earn what he could. He carried water, gathered wood, helped in gardens, and swept the floors of shops. In the evening, he brought home the few coins he had earned, and with them, he bought bread for his mother. One evening, as the sun was sinking low, the boy walked home tired, but glad, for in his hand, he held the money from a long day of work. Then he heard a small cry, thin, frightened, and full of pain. By the road, several children were beating a little puppy. The puppy trembled, its tail tucked close, its eyes full of fear. The boy hurried to them. "Why are you hurting him?" he asked. "Because we want to," said the children. "Give him to me," said the boy. "What will you give us?" The boy looked at the coins in his hand. They were all he had earned that day. Without them, there would be no supper. But the puppy cried again. So the boy gave the children every coin. They took the money and ran away laughing. The puppy crept toward the boy, then licked his hand. That night, the boy returned home with no bread, but with a little dog following close behind him. "Mother," he said softly, "I gave my wages away to save this puppy. I bought nothing for supper." The widow looked at the puppy, then at her son, and though she was weak, she smiled. "You did well, my child," she said. "Tonight we may sleep hungry, but the little one will sleep safely." The puppy curled near the hearth and wagged its tail as if it understood. A few days passed. The boy worked again and again. He earned a few coins, On his way home, he saw two boys tormenting a tiny kitten. They pulled at its tail and frightened it with sticks. "Stop," said the boy. "Let the kitten go. Give us money." The boys answered, "And we will." Once more, the boy gave away all he had earned. He took the kitten gently into his arms and carried it home. His mother asked him where the food was, and he told her the truth. The widow sighed softly, not with anger, but with tenderness. "You did well, my son," she said again. "A hungry night passes, but a rescued life remembers." So the kitten stayed, and soon it slept beside the puppy, as if they had always belonged together. On another evening, the boy saw a mischievous child dragging a frog through the street with a string. The poor frog bounced against the stones, unable to escape. "Why do you do this?" asked the boy. "To frighten the others," said the child. The boy did not argue. He simply gave him all the money he had earned that day, and took the frog carefully in his hands. That night, once more, there was no supper. The widow looked at the frog, then at the dog, then at the cat, then at her son, and she said, "You did well." The boy smiled, though his stomach was empty. The next morning, the widow said, "My son, a frog cannot live in a dry cottage. When you go to work, take it to the river and set it free." So the boy carried the frog to the river. The water moved softly between reeds, and morning light touched the surface like silver. He knelt, placed the frog near the water, and whispered, "Go safely." Then the frog turned and spoke. "You saved my life," it said, "and I will not forget." The boy stared in wonder. "Wait here," the frog continued. "My father is the Frog King. He will bring you a wonderful little box. Take it from his mouth and keep it carefully. When you lick the box, a dark servant will appear. Ask what you need, and he will bring it at once." The frog leapt into the river and vanished beneath the ripples. For a while, everything was still. Then the river stirred. A great frog rose from the water. On his head shone a tiny crown, and in his mouth, he carried a beautiful jeweled box. The boy took it carefully. The Frog King disappeared beneath the water, and the river became quiet again. The boy ran home, his heart beating quickly. He showed the box to his mother. It was small, bright, and strange, as if it held a secret deeper than its size. The boy touched it gently with his tongue. At once, a dark servant sprang out, bowed low, and said, "What do you wish, my master?" The widow gasped. The puppy raised its head. The kitten opened its eyes. But the boy did not ask for gold. He did not ask for jewels. He did not ask for fine clothes. he said. I want my mother to be well. And I want something for us to eat. In that very moment, the widow felt strength return to her body. Her face warmed. Her hands stopped trembling. And her sickness vanished. At the same time, a rich table appeared in the room. Bread, soup, fruit, honey, warm dishes, and sweet things they had not tasted in years. The mother and son ate with grateful hearts. The puppy ate. The kitten ate. And the little cottage was filled with peace. From that day on, their life became easier. The wonderful little box gave them food when they needed food, clothes when they needed warmth, and comfort when sorrow came near. But the boy remained humble. He remembered hunger. He remembered kindness. And he remembered that the box had come from mercy, not greed. Time passed. The boy grew into a fine young man. His mother grew strong again. The puppy became a loyal dog. And the kitten became a clever cat. One day, a royal announcement rang through the kingdom. The king's daughter was to be married. But she would marry only the one who could build a golden palace in 3 days. Princes came. Rich men came. Famous builders came. But none dared promise such a palace in so little time. Then the young man went before the king. Your Majesty, he said, I will build the palace. The king laughed in surprise. You? He said. Great masters have refused. But if you wish to try, try. The first day passed. The young man did nothing. The second day passed. Still, he did nothing. People whispered. Some mocked him. Others pitied him. But on the third day, he took out the little box, touched it with his tongue, and the dark servant appeared. What do you wish, my master? Build me a golden palace, said the young man, more beautiful than the king's own palace. Before evening, the palace stood shining beside the royal city. Its walls glowed like sunrise. Its windows flashed like diamonds. Its towers rose proudly into the sky. The whole kingdom stared in wonder. The king kept his word. The young man married the princess, and brought his mother, the dog, and the cat to live in the golden palace. For a while, joy filled every room. But happiness must sometimes be guarded carefully, for greedy eyes are always searching. Not long after, the young man was called away to war. Before leaving, he entrusted the palace to his wife. But the little box remained behind. The princess saw it often, yet she did not know its secret. To her, it looked only like a pretty trinket. One day, a merchant came near the palace. He carried fine fabrics, jewels, mirrors, and ornaments from faraway lands. The princess called him in, wishing to see his goods. As the merchant spread his treasures, his eyes fell upon the little box, and greed woke inside him. Princess," he said softly, "give me that little box, and I will give you everything I carry." The princess thought it a good bargain. She gave him the box and took the beautiful things. The merchant hurried away, and when he was alone, he licked the box. The dark servant appeared. "What do you wish, my master?" The merchant smiled wickedly. "Move this golden palace, and the princess inside it, to the fairy meadow beyond the sea." No sooner had he spoken than the palace vanished from the kingdom. The princess vanished with it, and the merchant vanished too. When the young man returned from war, he found empty ground where his palace had stood. No wife, no golden halls, no wonderful little box. He sat down, covered his face, and wept. Then the dog and cat came to him. "Why are you crying, brother?" they asked. "The little box has been stolen," he said. "My wife and palace are gone." The dog lifted his head. The cat's eyes shone. "Do not weep," said the dog. "We will find it. We will bring it home," said the cat. So the dog and cat set off together. Across roads, fields, forests, and hills. At last, they reached the sea. Far beyond the waves, they saw a golden palace glittering in the distance. "That is our brother's palace," said the cat. The dog lowered himself near the water. "Climb onto my back," he said. The cat climbed up, and the dog swam across the sea. Strongly, patiently, until they reached the far shore. The dog waited outside. The cat crept into the palace. There were many mice inside. The cat chased them through halls, under chests, behind curtains, and into the walls. At last, a great old rat looked out and said, "Why do you trouble us?" The cat answered, "Your master stole my brother's little box. Bring it to me, and I will leave your people in peace." The old rat listened, then nodded. "Wait here," he said. That night, when all in the palace slept, the rat crept into the merchant's chamber, found the wonderful little box, and carried it back to the cat. The cat took it proudly, ran to the dog, and said, "Come, we have it. Let me carry it," said the dog. "I must swim us across the sea again." "No," said the cat. "I found it. I will carry it." They reached the water. The dog began to swim. The cat tried to hold the little box safely, but a wave rose. The cat slipped, and the box fell into the sea. Before either could catch it, a great fish darted through the water and swallowed the box whole. The cat and dog reached the shore in sorrow. The cat did not dare look at the dog. "I told you," said the dog sadly. The cat began to cry, and soon, the dog cried too. For 3 days. They wandered along the shore. Hungry, tired, and ashamed. On the 4th day, they found fish remains left behind by fishermen. They came closer, hoping to eat a little. Then the cat saw something shining. Inside the torn belly of a fish lay the wonderful little box. The fish that swallowed it had been caught. The fisherman had cleaned it, and the box had been left behind. The dog and cat were overjoyed. This time, the dog carried the box carefully, and together, they hurried home. When the young man saw them, his heart filled with hope. He took the box, touched it with his tongue, and the dark servant appeared. "What do you wish, my master?" "Bring back my wife. Bring back my palace. And bring the thief who stole the box." At once, the golden palace returned. The princess returned, and the frightened merchant stood before them. His deceit was known, and he was punished for what he had done. Peace returned to the palace. The young man, his mother, and the princess lived happily together. The dog and cat walked through the golden halls like honored courtiers, loved, fed, and remembered. And whenever anyone asked how such great fortune had begun, the young man always answered, "With kindness." For the wonderful little box was powerful. But kindness was the first magic, the oldest magic, and the truest gift of all. And if you would like to hear more gentle stories, you can subscribe to Talechka's Tales. Good night, and sweet dreams.